In the glam room.
Where's everybody?
AD's upstairs, and Cheryl's laying down.
When did you go to Mastro's?
2 nights ago. So that's all good, but there's no meat.
Yeah.
Of course.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I don't agree anything about permission, but people don't say about
Okay, hey, Sticks. So this is not I posted on my story that I was going to go live with my mom and my grandma. So this live is not about me. This live, as you all know, I'm a really big Lana, be nice. This live is not about me. This live, really quickly, to give you just a quick backstory, and then I'll let my mom and my Mimi take it. My brother, which I don't really speak about because people are cruel, is mentally ill, and there are some things that my mom and my grandma would like to talk about in regards to that.
Yeah, but you can not say anything more from me because I've already shared the backdrop story for me.
Well, basically, about, 6 months ago?
Oh, you mean when she, girl? Yeah, it was February. It was March.
So back in March, Brandy Norwood encouraged my brother, who is a recovered addict, and now diagnosed bipolar and essentially schizophrenic, to not only come off his medication, but to begin again the consumption of marijuana and alcohol, I believe.
I don't know about the marijuana, I just know about alcohol for sure.
Okay, well, alcohol. And ever since then, it's been a really crazy roller coaster for the family, from physical violence to just emotional instability to fear of his safety and the safety of all of those that he encounters. And as it progressively gets worse, he is arrested for things such as, the most recent was walking on the freeway, and then he was released by authorities. And because it's not a criminal act, and because he was walking alongside the freeway and not on the actual freeway, they decided that he was not suicidal. And then he was released and then picked up again for the same offense, if for lack of a better term, which is walking alongside the freeway, not walking on the freeway. And then I guess you're deemed competent when what, Mimi? You can answer 5 questions, which are...
Then you just, do you know who the president is? Do you know where you are? Do you know what day it is? Do you know what time it is? And do you know the date?
So when somebody answers those 5 questions, the system deems them competent and will release them.
Unless it's a crime.
Right, unless there's been a crime committed. And so they did not hold him. They let him go. And most recently, the family has received a video of him walking totally nude through our neighborhood. And the sightings, once we're alerted to the sightings, he's long gone. So yes, they did a 72-hour hold, and then they released him after the 72 hours because he's 28 years old.
Before it was over.
Before the 72-hour hold was up, they released him. And they held him for more than 72 hours. They released him before the 14-day hold.
Correct.
So their reasoning was he answered the 5 questions, and he hasn't said things like, I'm going to kill myself or I'm going to kill you. So then he's deemed nonviolent, and then he's released. So the goal here is, 1, to help me find my brother. If anyone, I've posted him again. I've posted him previously, and recently my mom released a statement on her Instagram. And so if anyone who's in the Woodland Hills, Calabasas area sees him, just
or anywhere in the city,
really, just alert one of the family members and Secondly, I'll let Mimi take it from here because she has a different agenda. My agenda and my mom's agenda and my dad's agenda is simply, if you see him, he's not a criminal. Don't apprehend him. We just want the system to do a little bit more because he's mentally ill.
To do something.
So the goal we're hoping is that if he's apprehended, they don't use deadly force. They don't just release him because he can trick you into believing that he's not mentally ill by answering these 5 questions and forcing him into some type of treatment in pretty much a last-ditch effort to help him get better. So my Mimi here, which you guys have all seen on my Instagram, is a psychiatric nurse. And she's got a little more professional insight to how these things work. What?
Okay.
What'd she say?
She's just saying she has some other stuff she needs to say.
I said okay.
You're fine. She's fine. No, I'm good.
So Mimi is going to give you guys whatever it is she has to say. I don't know what she has to say. But Mimi knows what she has to say. They're looking at you.
Oh, okay. Hi, I am DJ's grandmother. In addition, and Moniece and Drew.
I mean, obviously, if she's my brother's grandmother, she's my grandmother.
In addition to that, a certified psychiatric professional. I am pleading and hoping that this will fall in the hands of someone that can make a difference. We are dealing with a system right now that has failed 3 times. The first time he went to Silver Lake Hospital and he was detained involuntarily. The goal was to stabilize him on medication. After the 72-hour hold, the 14-day hold took place, and they released him because he stated he did not want medication. Well, this is what most people that are psychotic, this is what they all say. Once they're on medication, they no longer want to be on it. That's the first failure. Then the second failure, he was arrested for peeing on the street and released, but now he's in the criminal system. He is not a criminal. So the third time, Moniece explained to you that he was arrested for walking alongside the freeway. He was on the freeway, but because he was not walking in the middle of the lanes of the freeway, he was deemed not a danger to self. So we get a call and on a Friday night, and so he was released the next day despite the fact that the psychiatrist tried to intervene, and he was assessed by a highway patrol person who is not trained to make those kind of assessments based on the 5 questions Moniece gave you, and not the mental status exam that is supposed to be used to determine whether or not a person is mentally ill. I am begging someone to get this to the right person, because the next call we get is going to involve one of 2 things. They're going to say the system failed again because they released him because he's not mentally ill, or by some fate he's dead. He has been on the street 7 days at this particular time with no food, no communication, no money, and all of these things exist, and it can only come to that last thing that I just gave you, either death or another failed system. I'm begging if somebody can get this to the criminal justice system or somebody so that this can stop and he can get the right disposition into a mental health facility where he can be detained and stabilized on medication. I thank you for your listening and for your consideration. Thank you so much.
So I see a lot of questions from people who either joined late or were not paying attention. So let me break it down for you. Brandy Norwood is not dating my brother. Brandy Norwood is not currently with my brother. This is not really about Brandy Norwood. This is about the fact that since Brandy Norwood convinced him to come off his medications, there has been a downward spiral in his mental health condition.
Which, by the way, he was compliant for 2.5 years before that moment.
Before Brandy convinced him not to take the medicine,
Was that all right?
he had been on the medication for over 2 years. My brother came home from college for Christmas break in 2015 and was then diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Bipolar mania.
And bipolar mania.
Schizoaffective disorder.
Schizoaffective disorder.
There you go.
Would you like to say this?
No, because
you're going to confuse people.
No.
So you tell me what the...
I'm just giving you the details.
Okay.
I like what,
So he came home from college for Christmas break in 2015 from college and was diagnosed with bipolar mania and schizoaffective. He was taking his medication, and you guys ask how he's associated with Brandy. The Norwood family and my family have been very good friends for the past 15 years, since I was 15 and I'm now 30. And she knew what he struggled with from past his addiction, as my mom had confided in her about that prior to. And she knew about the mental health issues he was suffering with. And privately, she convinced him not to take the meds. She convinced him that a little wine here and there would be okay. And so that then triggered, the emotional downward spiral, which led to a physical assault on both of my parents. Then that led to him leaving the house. Then that led to just the police then being involved. And that then led to him coming back home, me actually taking him off the street, convincing him to go back on the medication, helping him get a job, and then he decided to stop taking the medication. So when you guys say, what about an involuntary hold or just make him take the medication, he's 28. That means he's protected by what, HIPAA? So if he were to receive treatment, for instance, when he was arrested and then taken to the psych ward, he's 28 years old. So his treatment plans, what treatment he is or isn't receiving, can't be released to the family because he's 28 years old. He's no longer a minor. Him being 28 also means he does not have to take the medication if he doesn't want to. And so what the whole purpose of this live is that basically he was
Okay, T-Hive, we have a slight pause here. If you guys are just chiming in, Moniece Slaughter is saying that Brandy Norwood convinced her brother to discontinue his medication and to start smoking weed and to start drinking, and convinced him that a cup of wine would do him just fine, which led to a downslot of him having mental instability issues. Now, I saw the messages that she once posted up for this family, and she said, Brandy, admit what you did, and it was a big deal at the time. Nobody knew what she was talking about, but clearly This is what she was referencing, and now her brother has been missing for 7 days, and she's very upset over it. I'm going to end the video here, but this is the issues that are going on with Moniece Slaughter and her brother. You guys, let me know what you think. Make sure you guys like and subscribe.